All right, everybody ready? Here we go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
And thank you for coming today. This presentation is on screencasting and also the terms flip your classroom. How many people have heard of flip your classroom? All right, a lot of people have, yes. It's getting more and more popular as the weeks go by. I see more blog articles about it, more teachers trying it. And these are teachers all across the K-12 spectrum, different grade levels, different content. So it's not just for the math teacher, or not just for the science teacher. It can be used through screencasting as your primary means of delivering your information in a digital format rather than in a live face-to-face format for everything. I can say, as you maybe have seen my description up here, the part about let's see, my boring teacher website. Do I have that up there? Yes, I have that up there because I no longer use my teacher website to put handouts and to put information there because it takes a lot of work to keep that thing updated. I've abandoned that. I now use Edmodo as my tool, and all the instruction comes from screencasting. So that's what my little opening remarks there are all about if you'd like to take a look at that. Now, the essential questions, I always like to boil down. What are the three things that everyone would need to know by the time they leave? And I want to make sure you guys understand these three things. Number one, what is a screencast and a screenshot? Those are two different words, and I do both. So I'm going to show you how to make both of them. Number two is how do you create these things? And number three is how do you view them? Because it's one thing to know how to make them, but now how do the kids benefit from them? Or how do the teachers, as you'll see in one of my examples, benefit from the screencasts that the students made for them? So those are the essential questions. We'll revisit those at the end of the session again. And because this was a 2-hour presentation, I delivered it yesterday, the things in red I'm kind of going to skip. So you may notice in my outline here there's a couple things that are color-coded. I'm going to narrow it down a little bit so I can make sure I cover everything for you guys. But if you would like to follow along with this outline, you are free to do so if you jump over to my blog, which is robztraining.com. It looks like this. You'll see I've given you a link to my outline, which says right here, view my presentation outlines in Google Doc format here. So that way I'm giving you the same outline that I'm using as the instructor, so you can click on those hyperlinks in advance of me going there, or if you want to get more information on something when I move to the next thing. So feel free to check that out, robztraining.com, and you'll see that as the first post on the blog page. All right, so back to our outline. As far as audience introductions, I just want to know how many people have done screencasting before, have recorded their own voice, teaching something, showing something. Okay, just a few hands have gone up. So the whole concept behind a screencast is it's a video, and it's the teacher talking. So the teacher's still talking with the students, just not in a live sense, just in a pre-recorded sense. You're showing everything that's going on your screen. And in fact, I'm doing a screencast right now. Since I started 2 minutes ago, I have that camera running to record my face talking. And I have Camtasia running on this laptop that's recording all the screen motions and everything. It's mouse movement and all that. What I'm going to do is blend them together so that I make a video, a screencast, that shows what's going on here, along with me and my animations and my hand movements and stuff like that. So on my blog site, probably take me at least a week or two to get them all done. You can go back and review everything that I'm about to say today a second time if need be, and fast forward and rewind through it, because I'm going to go through things very quickly here, but I'm giving you an avenue to explore more, to see it again, basically. So not many people have used it. I checked the audience here. I want to go right into my jury duty video case study with a story to tell for it first. So let's make sure it doesn't start playing. You're welcome. So the story I have to tell here is about jury duty. For the first time in my life, I'm 33 years old. I've never been called for jury duty my entire life, which I'm told is kind of rare, because usually every couple of years people get called. Not even once. So at 33 years old, all of a sudden I get, well, let me jump back a step. I'm so in love with this product called Snagit for screencasting. It costs $29 per seat. And I have, in my classroom, I have about 25 computers. So if you do the math, 30 bucks times 25, you're talking $700, $800, $900. And I knew that it's too late in the budget cycle to ask my school district to fork over the money and buy that. I know I probably could get it for the fall, but I had a real cool project I wanted to do now, like in May, June time of the school year. So I wrote to the company, and I've worked with them before a little bit for some other projects, and I said, if you guys give me the software, like complimentary, I promise to do a really good job using your software and letting other teachers that I do workshops for know that, so that they can kind of see, oh, maybe I can do that too, just like Rob Z's students did. So I said, here's the concept. We're going to make the project called Teaching the Teachers, where the students are going to learn something, in this case, how to use Google Docs and how to use Gmail, because they have their own student accounts. they're going to become the experts in it. Then they're going to make some screencast tutorials for their teachers to watch. So their teachers can learn from the students in a non-intimidating, non-threatening way, learn how to use Google Docs. So I said, to do that, we need a tool like Snagit. So will you guys give us that software? They agreed to it because they've seen other projects we've done, and they know that we're not going to waste the money, basically. So they gave me the license to do that. I installed it on all the machines, and I was good to go. Comes to the following week, that's when I get the letter in the mail that says, welcome to jury duty. You have to show up. And for grand jury duty, there's no number that they call. There's no maybe you'll be in, maybe you won't be. It's you're in. And you can talk to the judge if you want to get out of it, but you'll just have to do it again 6 months later. So basically, I was in for a 1-month commitment. And they said 3 to 5 days per week. It ended up being 3 days a week. So I was 3 days out and 2 days in the classroom for a period of 4 weeks. So then I contacted the TechSmith guys, and they said, hey, how's it going? Are you going to do that project? And I said, well, not really. I have to push it back to maybe next school year because now I've got this whole jury duty thing, and I'll be out of my room, and there'll be subs in the classroom, and not the same sub every day probably. They said, well, what are your plans? What are you going to do? I said, well, easy. I'm just going to run the ultimate bedroom design project. I've done this one in earlier rotations in the school year. They said, well, how are you going to do that if you're not there? Are you going to leave plans for the sub? And I said, no, I have screencasts. I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's why you're asking. They said, yeah, that sounds like a video case study we'd be interested in featuring if you're up to it. So I said, yeah, sure thing. So the guy came down from Michigan, where the company's located, followed me around for a day with a camera, and interviewed my students. And you'll even see in this video here, we had to make a fake facade of looking like I'm walking into jury duty, and it's not downtown the courthouse. See if I won't even say it. Let's see if you guys can recognize where this is. It's somewhere in Buffalo, and we wanted it to look like a very judicial type place. So people in Buffalo will know that it's not really the courthouse, but everybody else doesn't. I was real excited because I saw this for the first time myself yesterday in this session, because I asked the guy, I said, hey, do you have that video edited yet? Because I want to show it in my workshops. And he emailed me yesterday about 11 o'clock. It says, yes, here it is. So I showed it for the first time yesterday. So I've only seen this like once before. So here it is. I'm Rob Zdrojewski. I'm a middle school technology teacher at Amherst Middle School. Right now it's approximately 8:20 in the morning, and in about a half hour the students will be coming into school like a regular routine day.
Mr. Z has been doing jury duty for the past week or so.
And he's been giving us videos through Edmodo to tell us our assignments.
Since he's been gone, we've had a lot of subs, but we still were able to watch the videos, so it's just like he was still in class.
I did it with Snagit. Snagit is a great little tool. I can record whatever's on my screen, including my webcam. So I put it in a little corner of the screen myself. So I think it gives like that human element when you can see the person talking to you and not just hear the voice.
Mr. Z's class is really cool, actually. I love it.
I like how we get to use phones and computers in Mr. Z's class.
Well, in the past, without using screencasting, I come back in the next day looking at those plans, and you don't know what you're going to get. In some cases, it's, we tried working on this, but we had trouble, so the kids used it as a study hall.
Just because we're not handing in our papers, we still hand in, we have to submit it through Edmodo, and then he can clarify when you hand it in, how much you did each day.
I thought it was really fun. It's much better than writing an essay on it.
I'm Rob Zdrojewski. I'm a teacher, a father, and a juror, and I'm still teaching my students even though I'm out on jury duty, thanks to screencasting. Now, I got in a little bit of trouble with my wife yesterday because she said, how come you didn't say you're a husband? You said you're a father. So I should be careful what I'm saying because I'm recording this right now, but it was an interesting evening because of that. But that, I think, was a good case study in that sense to show that, yes, you're a teacher that's still teaching your kids, and they can't just pull you, the teacher, out of the classroom and throw in some teaching assistant, lower paid or whatever, because it doesn't work. You still have to have the teacher that's trained in pedagogy and knows how to assess things and create content, but I just still am not in the classroom and I'm able to reach the students. So screencasting is the tool that allows you to do that because they're still receiving that instruction from you, just not in a live sense necessarily. So that's the case study. Next, we want to go to the differentiation here between, and by the way, there will be a quiz at the end, so just so you know that. Screencast has to do with being a video. And these links just take you right to a Wikipedia official somewhat official definition. And a screenshot is just a photograph, because there are some cases where you don't need to take full motion video. You can convey your point in just one simple photograph screenshot. So the tools I'm showing you today are talking about is Camtasia Studio and Snagit. Both of them are made by the company called TechSmith. They both can do full motion video, and they can do individual screenshots. So we're going to go for some teacher examples, some teacher-made examples, and then we're going to look at some student-made examples. So first off with the teacher examples is this one here is another different entry in my blog, Student Survey of Mobile Devices. At the beginning of the rotations, I give a survey using Google Forms to see what kind of technologies students have access to. Because if I'm going to flip the classroom and I'm going to have them learn my instruction outside of second period or fifth period, I have to make sure they have access to do so. So I find that probably about 92 to 95% are perfectly fine with watching things that night from home on a mobile device, on a laptop, on a desktop, in a library. According to what they're telling me, they have the ability to do that. Now, one thing I should point out right off the bat, I never give an assignment today expecting it to be done for tomorrow. I usually give at least a week's notice in advance. So there's never the incidence of, well, I was at my mom's house last night and her computer wasn't working, so I'm stuck. I get around that by making sure I give enough leeway to watch the task at hand before they turn in the project that's due later in the week or the following week. But I took the survey. I wanted to show the students the results, but I didn't want to just give them the spreadsheet of results, because then they would see all the names and who answered what. So to kind of control the information, I decided why not record a screencast. This way I'm able to personalize it, include myself. You'll see in a webcam image here. It'll transition then to the screen, and you'll see all the data that I've decided to show the viewers on screen. Now, I didn't just make this for my students, but now other teachers in the building are watching this and saying, oh yeah, I didn't realize I could do this activity with podcasting, because this many kids have iPod touches, and I didn't realize that. So now the data I'm creating, I feel like, can serve more than just the students in front of me, because now it reaches the teachers and the administrators and the parents too. At the beginning of each school year, I like to do a student survey just to see what kind of technology tools that the students have access to. And so this year I was a little bit surprised. Some of the numbers have gone up quite tremendously from June, when I did this last, to now September. So I had about 92 students take the survey the first week of school, and we started out, as you can see, my biggest class here is 6th period, and that just shows you the numbers in each class. Now I broke this into different categories. One of them is about the mobile devices being phones that they have. And it looks like about half of them say that they have a basic phone. The flip cameras really were the majority of what students would have had last year for pocket video cameras, but now that the iPods have cameras on them. So this data, I would say, it really got us a lot of mileage, because now administrators, teachers, parents, they're able to see, not just, well, do our kids have this stuff? Do they not? They had actual data they could see from it. And if I just emailed this out in a spreadsheet format, no one's going to look at it. But by putting it in a video format where you can just sit back and watch it, take it in, listen to how it's being presented, see the different bar graphs on the screen, that whole multimedia experience there just seems to be much more effective. So that was easily done with, and this time I was using Jing. Jing is a free program I no longer use, because Jing Pro, which allows you to use the webcam there, is being phased out. The developers at TechSmith tell me that Jing is kind of their entry-level product, and they're really not wanting people to get hooked on that because it's limiting. There's much more that you can do with Snagit and with Camtasia. And if we talk good, better, best, good would be Jing, better would be Snagit, and best would be Camtasia Studio. But if we're talking price-wise, we're talking free, $29 and $179. And those are the educational prices. They're much higher if it's non-education. So knowing that information here, this is the kind of the entry level. This was Jing Pro, actually, so I could put in the webcam there. And I was wearing a pair of USB headphones, and this is the style that I recommend. The USB style that has the end that looks like that is much better to use, in my opinion, in my experience, compared to the analog style that have the headphone style jack. Because this is not an analog device. This is a pure digital device. So when you're plugging it into your computer, you're sending in a pure digital signal right to it, and the computer doesn't have to struggle processing that that audio of your voice. It's automatically digitized by the hardware. So even though they're more expensive, $20, $30 as compared to $10, $15, I consider it a plug-and-play device, and I've had a lot less trouble with it having these on the school computers. This will work on Windows. I'm not sure if it works on Mac or not, if they're cross-platform or not. But digital headset, in my opinion, is the way to go. If you're looking for a specific brand or model, the one that we use in our school is the Microsoft brand, and it is the LifeChat LX3000. That one has served us well, and I have one of those on all the classroom computers. They're about 20 bucks now. They used to be double the price, so they've been coming down in price a lot. But the LifeChat LX3000 is the model that we like. You can probably find it on Amazon for the best price there. So that's one example. Another teacher-made example is narrated PowerPoint slides. How many people have ever wanted to make a video out of their PowerPoints and include maybe even your voice in it? Okay? We make everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody, most everybody is familiar with slideshows, PowerPoint, the concept of that. But just giving somebody a PowerPoint show and expecting them to go through it on their own and absorb all the information may or may not work as well. This way, I'm actually presenting the PowerPoint, not just giving a file. I'm able to highlight certain things. The app I'm using here is called Explain Everything. This was made on an iPad. And the Explain Everything app, which is a $3 app, lets you highlight things and put arrows in, and then you can actually take your 2 fingers and move the arrows around and stretch them big and smaller, and everything on the everything on the screen that's moving is being recorded along with your voice. So you can really draw the attention for your viewer to right where you want them to see it. Now the story behind this one is this was about a year ago or so. I finished up here with my second master's with the Educational Leadership Program, and it's an online-only program. So the other students that I was working with had responsibility for other slides in this presentation. So the theory was we had to turn in a PowerPoint presentation. I said, well, let's use the Explain Everything app because we all had iPads. And you can share the project file among different iPads. You can kind of send it to someone through email or through Dropbox. So I did like slides 1 through 5. Someone else did 6 through 10 and so on. And we each added our voices to each slide. So I'll show you just a few moments of this so you can see the idea behind turning a static slide into a animated type presentation.
It's what we call the digital divide. In other words, the haves and the have-nots. How do we ensure that all students have access to devices? And I'm going to talk in a moment here about some things that we've brainstormed on how we can solve issues.
All right, so I'll pause it there. So you're able to add your voice to each and every slide. It's not one take where you have to speak the whole time. You record one slide and you hit stop, and then move to the next slide, hit record, talk a little bit, move your stuff around. And so you can do that slide by slide. And I had no idea starting out how long it would be. It ended up being 31 minutes long. In my head, I was thinking like 10 minutes, 12 minutes. But it ended up being 31 because it's just so you fall into the flow of it and you can explain things and just things that people can't get if you just provided them the slide deck and they had just had the slides themselves and that was it. So using screencasting is a way to add presentation qualities to your PowerPoints. And the next example is providing and receiving tech support. Now, even if you in this room are not an IT person, you probably have friends, colleagues, relatives that ask you, or maybe you're the person asking, how do you do something on the computer? And you might be doing that through an email or through over the phone. And you, of course, could write back, if this is an email, step 1, click on the red button at the top. Step 2, drop the drop-down menu and look for the edit button. Step 3. And you can do that from you, the person making it. It seems to make sense. Then the person then receiving it is like, what red button are they talking about? I don't have a drop-down menu. What's that all about? And so they're struggling, trying to figure out what you took time to make. And chances are, it took you a lot of time to write those instructions out. So if you could make it more efficient, where it's more effective and takes less time for you to make these things, that would be screencasting. Because in this example here, a 5th grade teacher who also wanted to start using Edmodo, because he heard I was using it, he with his students, they made videos, and they wanted to put them in Edmodo. And he was saying, how do I do that? Now, I could have wrote that step 1, step 2, step 3 thing, and John was good. He probably would have understood that. But I realized that I'm going to be probably doing this for a lot of other teachers too, because they want to, the Edmodo bandwagon is kind of catching on at our district, that it could be your digital learning platform, and like it's simple questions like, how do I make a post? How do I delete something? How do I add in a quiz? So I make a video like this, and it takes me less time to speak it than it does to type it. And so here's a couple seconds of this.
Now in this step, I'm going to show you how to upload your video right to the website, right to Edmodo. So here's the goal. I'm going to show you the end here. It's going to look something like this when you're all done, so that you can watch your video right on the Edmodo homepage. So here's the magic behind making that happen. I'm going to go right up to the Launch Apps button. Then we're going to go to the SchoolTube app. And it should log us in a matter of seconds here.
Now, how many people would I have lost if I tried doing that in a text format? Right? Step 1, click the button at the top. What button? Which one? The one with the dots on it. Which one is that? Is it circle dots, square dots? and it gets all that confusion. This way, you're seeing it happen in real time. You can rewind it and say, let me see that again, and kids often do that. I tell them I'm teacher on demand. They know movies on demand and sports on demand. I am teacher on demand, because you can fast forward me or rewind me or pause me at your will. So you get to have control of that, the pace of learning that way. So I go through all those nitty-gritty steps that way, and in 3 minutes, I'm done recording it. I get a link, which is, you could see it at the top there. It's a long one, but they also give you shorter links too. And I just send that link, copy it, and then paste it in an email to the teacher that needs it. Now, John, who works with another 3rd grade teacher, says, oh yeah, I saw you were doing that, John. I want to do that too. How do I do it? Well, he can either take the time out of his busy day to explain it, or he can just send the link to it and they can watch it as well. So now you create a community of teachers that way, learners and teachers that way, that can reuse these videos for the commonly asked questions. That saves the IT staff a lot of repetitive things. And I keep telling my IT staff, there's so many things that they get flooded with questions over and over and over and over and over again. I say, just figure out what those popular questions are and make a screencast. Don't be ashamed of how your voice sounds or how you look on camera. Because, you can actually, it's so funny, I guess, and I guess I forget because I've been doing this for so many years, but people are intimidated at first to hear their own voice, or especially if a webcam's going, to see themselves on the screen. But once you can psychologically get past that point, you realize that you can still make very personalized videos where people feel like they're learning from you and not just some robot talking at them. Because you can see the person, you can hear the person, and it's psychologically speaking, I guess, more of a connection with the person watching it. So I thought it'd be great for tech support people, but really it's for anybody that either wants to receive or send information about how to do something on the computer. So now we're going to kind of flip the coin here a little bit and look at some student examples. It could be the teacher making and delivering stuff, but why not the students? They can show what they've learned. They can prove it by making a screencast themselves. One of the ones, quick story before I go to that one, is my first entry into screencasting for the kids is do a vanity search of yourself, meaning go on Google and search for your own name. And let's see if you exist out there on the web. Some students do, some do not. Some find, that's my uncle, that's my aunt, I don't know who that is, but it says I'm dead and I'm not, and here's an obituary. And so they go through all this stuff, and I say, now make a screencast of that. You got 60 seconds to make a screencast and show us how you do or do not exist out there on the web. And to them, that's kind of fun, because anytime they get a chance to talk about themselves, as we all know middle school kids, that's what they want to do. So they're showing us a show and tell by recording the screen and sitting at their desk wearing a pair of headphones like this and talking at the screen. They almost forget for a moment that everyone else is doing it, and that it's kind of weird to look at your own screen and talk at it. My room sounds like a call center, because they're all talking and wearing headphones and stuff, but they quickly get over that and lose that shyness and realize that making a screencast is really not that big of a deal. Because if you mess up, just stop and re-record it again. And then the work you publish out there for everyone to see, the finished product, is a result of many, many iterations by making it better and better each time. So my first student example is the Ultimate Bedroom Design Project, which I mentioned a few moments ago there. I always like to find what I consider one of the best ones, and this one was done by Maura, an 8th grader, and she did a really good job showing all the pieces of the puzzle to this project. This is about a 4-week project. The kids are given a fictitious budget of $40,000, and if they won that money, how would they build the ultimate bedroom on their house? So kind of a wing or a little room off of their existing house. They have to calculate how many square feet, and it's $125 per square foot, which is roughly a Western New York construction trades pricing. And then so they have to learn spreadsheets. How do I figure out the size of the room? Let's make a big one, let's make a small one, and see how the numbers work out. Then the money left over is to spend it on the flat panel TV, the hot tub, the vending machine, the snow cone maker, whatever they decide. And they go out there on the web and they tag all this stuff, and for that we use Evernote to keep track of all of our research. And then they put that into another spreadsheet for the money calculations. And then they have to make a floor plan to show how it all fits in the room. And then there's something else I'm missing in there. It's like 5 or 6 different things. And then the final cumulative result is this, making a screencast, which is a show and tell presentation of all the different pieces of the puzzle. So this, again, is their chance to do a screencast and show their classmates. And just like Maura did here, you can see they post it. They first post their rough draft screencasts so all the kids can look at them, and then they can reply on them like Hannah did right here. They are supposed to give positive and negative. So if they give a positive, I say give a negative. If they give a negative, I say give a positive. So this is probably not the best example for that, but I've instituted that so that now we get a balanced amount of feedback from the kids. They look at the feedback, which they value much higher than they would from me if I looked at it myself. And then they make their final screencast off of what they could tweak on that and turn the final one in for the grade. So really, when I get the final result and I'm looking at that, that's a polished presentation. But the rest of the class gets to see their progress of when they were making things. So comments you'll hear about like you were breathing too hard in the mic, or you say and ah a lot, or I can tell you didn't sound enthusiastic. Or the opposite, you sounded too enthusiastic. I couldn't focus on what you were trying to show me because I just heard how fun you were, of a time you were having. So we balance it off, the positive and the negative feedback, and then we make them better. So this one is a finished one, I believe, from More.
This is More Tom, and we're going to look at my makeover design project. This is my survey that I made, which is really cool because you get to make your own questions, and you can do multiple choice, long answer, short answer, check boxes, what you liked. Scales, drop-down questions, and little chart questions. Now the results show up in a spreadsheet that looks like this, but this is kind of like a lot to look at. It's kind of gray, unorganized. So then you can go to the summary sheet, which has all the responses in a nice little organized way, and we asked what is the best type of laptop, and this was responded by Matt. Cool because you
now, as you saw, they offer their own inflections. This is not meant to be a radio voice style, we call it. I say it's a conversation that you're having with somebody. So imagine they are sitting right next to you at the computer and you're showing them. But imagine your audience is not someone in your class that's done this. It's a mom or a dad or another teacher or an aunt or uncle. They've never seen this. They don't know what screencasts or forms or drawings or Evernote. They don't know any of these tools. So explain it to them from that level. So they have to then put their mindsets in a different mode and realize who their audience is and tailor their video for that. So that's kind of the cumulative event for the 4-week project that we do, and that gives them that chance to learn how to do screencasting. I should mention also, some of them, yes, they are intimidated in class doing that. So the good thing about it is, as long as they have a pair of headphones like these, or if they're working off of a laptop, because most laptops have a built-in mic on it, they can do that part from home if they so choose. Even though Snagit costs $29 for teachers and students, you get a 30-day free trial. So with most software, just install it at home, and as long as you can do the project in the next 30 days, you're good to go. So that's an option I give to them. A relatively new option, because I didn't realize how many kids did struggle with that and were kind of intimidated recording. They knew it was their day to record, and they were struggling like, well, I don't want to do that today because everybody else is. I said, it's not that big of a deal, but I'll give you that option if you want to do it. So at least from the comfort of their own home, they can create their screencast that way. Next student example is the iPod app reviews. Now, I mentioned earlier about working with this company in terms of a consultant type capacity. TechSmith makes Jing, they make Camtasia Studio, they make Snagit, all these different tools I'm mentioning today. We were featured on their blog, and I thought I had a direct link, but I guess not. We're going to search for it. Amherst. We used this little, yep, there it is, this little ipivo webcam. It's a USB webcam, $69, and it does basically what this thing here does, the Elmo, that probably costs about $1,000 and very heavy. You can't carry this thing around with you, but this you can. In fact, I carry it in this little optional $20 carry case like so. This was the first model to come out, and now there's another model, an evolution of this one called the Ziggy. And the Ziggy is $20 more. The stand is higher, so it can go higher up off the table, and that way you can record a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper underneath it, because this one's kind of close to the table. And it has a few extra buttons on the top for like lightness, brighter and darkness, and things like that. But either model works very well as a inexpensive, high-quality webcam. And we made the projects we made where we took an educational app, review it, and talk about why you think teachers should use it in their class. So here's what the blog post looked like. They talked about our use of the ipivo camera, and here's an example video that the kids made with it.
Hey, this is Allie,
Katie, and Nicole.
We are going to review the Word Magic app. It teaches little kids how to spell words by asking them a word and having them fill in the missing letter. We bought it from the iTunes App Store. It costs 99 cents.
The benefits of this app is that it helps little kids learn how to spell. It has a limited amount of words, so they start repeating, and kids won't learn new ones.
So the challenge here was you have 60 seconds or less to do your app review. Tell us where to buy it, how much it is, things you liked about it, things you didn't like about it, and so forth. Then the beauty of being in the world of Apple, they list email contact addresses for developers of these apps. So I had the kids as an additional challenge, go ahead and email your video to them and see if you get some feedback. And a lot of them did. Developers would write back saying, you know, that we never considered a 12-year-old point of view. That's really, you know, thank you for doing that. And then they've gone back and forth and actually added in features that our kids in these videos said they should have, and they added those features into the apps. So talk about a pure two-way conversation there, where the kids know that whatever they're making is not just for their teacher, but it's actually for a worldwide audience. And so what we did then is we organized them in a folder, in a publicly viewable folder, and these are all videos for apps that are out there. Now the majority of them, probably 98% of them, are all educationally based, meaning that it'll work in a maths, foreign language, career and life skills, whatever. It had to fit into an educational setting. There's a few on here that the kids had to convince me, such as, I'm looking for Angry Birds. That was a physics thing in science. They convinced me. Shazam was another one because they liked music, and I said, well, I guess it would work for a music class. Why not? There's phys ed ones on here that had to do with health and wellness. But really, it was a great way for kids to pick an app that either was their favorite that they liked to use or they've seen somebody use, or learn a brand new app that they've never seen before and do the research and find out how it fits into the school setting. And then any of their teachers could watch these apps. And I loved it when, like, the math, something like this that Chris made for math, he would then share it with his math teacher. And math teacher would say, wow, I guess these things could be used for more than just listening to music or playing games. I guess there's an educational value to it, too. So it was our way of trying to infiltrate the culture a little bit and show that these mobile devices can do more than just talk with your friends and waste time playing games, because we wanted to show firsthand how it could be done. And that's why I said 60 seconds or less. You can't go on for 20 minutes explaining this. You've got to be short and right to the point. So I didn't let them record until they've proven to me they've created a very distinct outline that had all the individual points in there that I wanted to see as requirements. I approved that for them, and then they could go off and record it. So they used the ipivo webcam, as I mentioned, and then they used, in this case, they used Jing, but Snagit would work as well, to record the screen, because this ipivo webcam puts whatever's coming into the lens here, puts it on the screen. So therefore, you just record the screen. And you're wearing the headphones to capture your audio. Now, there is a pause button because I had one set of headphones, and as you heard, there's a couple kids in each video. So they would pause the video recording, change headphones to another kid's head, and then hit record and continue on that way. So even though the presentation is only 60 seconds, it might take them a full class period or two to make the finished product. And I put them out. They gave me a copy of it, so I put them in a kind of a teacher-controlled folder, so that way I could make sure that nobody else had access to add or remove things from it. So that's worked out well, and within this screencast.com site, we actually can look at statistics of how often things are watched. And we can figure out which one is the most popular one, which one gets watched the least, the most, and all of that by having them here on screencast.com. And I should mention that now. Screencast.com is owned by the company that makes the software, the TechSmith company. It is a paid solution if you have lots of people using it. These get watched by a lot of people, so I had to have what they call their premium account, which is $9 or $9.99 a month, $10 a month. They gave it to me complimentary because they know that I'm not just using this for my students, but Screencast gives you 2 gigabytes of storage and 2 gigabytes of monthly bandwidth, which means it's like a cell phone. It's like the amount of data going back and forth from it. For the average teacher, that's perfectly fine. The average teacher that has a secondary level, maybe like me, 5 classes times 20 kids in a class, 100 kids, and only my kids are watching them, that's plenty. But if you start doing this for your whole school watches it, or you put it out on a blog somewhere and lots of people are watching it, you'll eventually get to the point where they email you and say, hey, you're going over your 2 gig limit. If you want to continue, we need your credit card number so we can keep it going. Now, they do a great job with the service, so I have no problem if I had to pay $10 a month. I think it's worth it. But there are other options. You can put your stuff out on YouTube, or put it in Google Docs, or put it on SchoolTube. So there's other places you can put it that are free, and there's no worry about how many times it gets watched because it won't count against you. But with Screencast, it's the convenience factor. Right within all the TechSmith software, it's a one-click upload, and boom, it's there. So there's a lot less typing, a lot less hassle involved in terms of finding the file, saving the file, uploading the file, all that you can get around it. So the convenience factor is there, and I just wanted to point that piece out there. the Abby and Ben teach you Google Docs. These guys were the beta testers for that Teach the Teachers project I talked about earlier. I always like to find the kids that finish early because I use Edmodo. They know in advance when all their assignments are due. And these are the kids that finish way ahead of time. And I say, you know what, I have a really cool idea for another project. It involves an iPad. If you want to borrow it, you can use it. And of course, that helps them to say yes. And so they serve as beta testers for ideas I have for future projects. And they were the first ones to do the Teach the Teachers concept. I said, let's come up with a list of videos that they could watch, and let's put them in an organized way so that all you need is this is one document, and you have everything you need inside of it. So these are just simply hyperlinks that take you, as you can see here, to individual videos. And this one is all about Google Docs. So let's take a look at video 2. This one's about spreadsheets.
To making your presentations, you can now need to make a spreadsheet. If you don't know how to get into Google Docs, watch my other videos. To make a spreadsheet, you click Create, go to Spreadsheet, and a spreadsheet is very good because it's free here and it's like Excel. So, what you can do is, let's say you want to make some kitchen prices. So you're going to go here and right here, and you're going to call this kitchen prices.
So there's a couple seconds of that example. Ben did a really good job, and from what he made as a beta tester, we realized when we roll this out officially as a project we're going to do, we're going to have to limit the amount of time the kids can explain something. Because he went on for around 5 minutes or so when we wanted to go for maybe 1 to 2 minutes long maximum. And that's really tough, because now you have to really get right to the point, say what you got to say, and then move on to the next point within the video. So an outline, I felt, was almost required here. You couldn't wing it. You couldn't just say, oh, I think I know what I'll talk about and go for it, but they have to show an outline of what they're going to make. So we'll have a bunch of kids create videos on spreadsheets, for example, and then the teacher's going to say, oh, I know Ben. I want to watch his video. I want to learn from him. Or I know Jason. I want to learn from him. So the teachers can almost pick and choose from a list of the students they know that they feel comfortable and familiar with, and they'd be like, yeah, he probably would be able to explain it to me good, or she knows what she's talking about in class, so I'll watch her video. So it's now that the students teaching the teachers how to do these things on the computer. And in our case, it's going to be some Google Docs training. It came also out of a need we had, which was teachers are curious and eager to learn more about Google Docs, but with all the APPR stuff and the Common Core stuff, all the technology training was pushed to the bottom of the pile. So I said, well, I don't want us to just say never mind and we'll get to it when we get to it. How can we make it happen? We'll just have to make it kind of on your own time if you're interested. And so that's where this idea was born out of let's make them available anytime, anywhere, on any device, and teachers can jump in when they feel comfortable to do it. I should mention also, we've been looking at everything on a Windows laptop, but the videos you make with these products are also available on iOS devices as well. So it's not a limitation there. It can work on your smartphone, on your tablet, on your desktop or laptop. It works across all of them. Some products out there that are free, that are competitors to TechSmith's stuff, they don't. They'll only work on a Windows, or they'll only be QuickTime, or they'll only play in a certain browser. So I like that fact that it's cross-compatible and it'll open all across. The other ones here towards the bottom, I think, were made by Abby, but they all cover a different feature within the Google Apps offering. And so that's the student-produced example. Close off some windows here. And back to our outline. OK, so we did the teacher, we did the student examples. Now we're going next to how to create them. I've been talking about the product names here, but let's officially look at them. Jing is the first one. Jing is been around for, I'd say, 4 or 5 years, I would estimate. It's the one that I started with, and it's free for Mac or PC, and it's the entry level. The problem that I see with Jing, and that's why I don't really recommend starting here, is that the file format that gets made is an SWF format. That's a Shockwave Flash format. That really doesn't play nice across Windows and Mac, and if you want to pull it into another program and work with it, it's one of those not really well supported file formats. That's why I say take a step up to the Snagit product, which is $29. 30 days free, but then $29. So Jing is the lowest one. Snagit would be the second one, which I have here. And this is the product page. They're showing you that now Snagit does do video. Before, Snagit only did photographs. You would just use it to take a still screenshot of the screen. Now they've added the video capability, which has changed things a lot. The format it records in is MPEG-4, which is a much more widely playable format across Windows Media Player. The Mac can play it. iOS devices can play it. So it's a more compatible format, and you'll have less hassle trying to have people play it in different places. There's more information here about the product itself, about what you can do with it. So if you're interested, you can click on the links I have there in the outline and check those out. And then the top of the top is Camtasia Studio for $179 is the educational price. Big difference here, why people jump up to it, is they start making these screencasts and they say, you know what, it would be really nice if I could just take out parts of my videos, like the ums and the ahs. Or if I make a 10-minute long video and, you know what, the last 2 minutes, they don't make sense anymore because it's old information. I want to just keep the beginning but not have the end. Well, if you want to do any kind of editing, that's what you need Camtasia Studio for, because now you get a true timeline, horizontal timeline. You can drop your video clip on there and then chop it up and move things around and add call-outs and arrows and zoom-ins and zoom-outs and all those fancy things that you might want to do once you get your feet wet with screencasting. If you get hooked with it, that's kind of the natural progression up to Camtasia Studio. And I'm using Camtasia Studio right now to record. From 42 minutes ago when I started talking, I hit record, and it's recording the entire perimeter of the screen. So I can use this footage and piece it together with the talking headshot coming from that camera there. So I'll make a video of this presentation that way. So that's kind of running in the background there. And that is Camtasia Studio that's doing that. Now we can switch to the iPad options. How many people have access to an iPad? All right, about half of the people in the room do. All right, the nice thing about this, of course, is the touch control. Drawing with your finger is so much nicer. Even with a stylus, I have one of those, and I can use that too. The mic is built in, so there's no compatibility issues. It just makes screencasting really, really straightforward. So I am going to switch now to this camera. And I'll give you guys a better view on there. See if it works. OK, my screencasting folder is here. These are the ones I want to talk about today. The first one I'll talk about is Show Me. Now, I'm probably not logged in, and I don't have they've recently changed this app, but this is a free one. This one allows you to do whiteboarding stuff, and it'll make more sense when I show you the next app. But just wanted to show you Show Me is one of the apps that's free. Another one would be, that's very similar to it, is Screenchomp. Very basic. You see at the bottom we have our drawing tools. So I could record. Let's do a quick math example here. I'll hit record, and it counts down for me. Say, hi, this is Mr. Z, and today we're going to show you an addition problem. 2 plus x equals 5. So how would we solve that? Well, I'm going to grab a different color marker, and we're going to subtract out the 2 from both sides. Okay, and this then would be x equals 3. And that happens to be my answer, x equals 3. That's the process of that simple equation. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. All right, so now here it is, ready to go. X equals 5. So how would we solve that? I'm going to grab a different color marker. So you get the person's voice talking. You get to see the progression of what they're drawing. And this now exists as a video that's shareable. I can share it out on the web, email someone the link, put it on my blog, put it on my teacher website, whatever you want to do with it by hitting the, or send it to Facebook. Notice in the corner we have Facebook options. But Screenchomp is what they call a proprietary format, where it's not really a video that you could use elsewhere. It's only meant to be used with the Screenchomp software. So in the app now, I can go up here, and you can see it's still processing. But when it's done, it'll exist like my other examples up there. So let's grab one so you can see what it's like. Yes, because you have the share button down here, the blue one. And so I could hit share, and then I could copy a link, email link, or tweet this. So that's your method of getting it out, and someone then could watch it that way. But wait, there's more, because I'm going to show you the other apps that I kind of prefer a little bit more, that are paid apps, that let you pull this video footage into maybe iMovie and add a soundtrack or add colorful graphics or things like that. So this is a very basic one. Screenchomp was made that way on purpose so that there's not a lot of bells and whistles to confuse people. So I'll exit out of that one. And then I'll go up to Edu Creations. This is the newest one of the 4 that I've been playing around with. Has anybody seen this one before? This one is nice because it builds on to what ScreenComp did, where you can draw with your, with your tools and draw things. But you can also then put these in a place where students will watch them, and then you can have a roster in there. So you could say, Johnny saw this 3 times, but Sally didn't see it yet. So you have control over, or knowledge of, how these are being watched and when they're being watched. So they're building in kind of a platform, a management platform, as well as a whiteboarding app together, kind of marrying those 2 things together. So another thing I like here is the ability to add, if you notice, text at the top. So I could be drawing here like this with my finger, or I could go up to the text tool, tap anywhere to add text, and I could put in the symbols 2 plus number 5. And so you can do that. And then once those are done, you can move them around on the screen too. I do believe you can control the size too. I just have to set that before I type it. And you can now hit the picture button and say, where do you want to grab your picture from? From the camera, which would be really cool, because say I had a cover of a book and I wanted to take a picture of that book and then talk about that book. Or take a picture of a student and now say, talk about yourself. Well, you see yourself on the screen. Tell us a little story about yourself. Or I could grab a photo that I have already on my device. Let's go to something I have here from Career Day. And it pulls up the image from there. And you can, if it's kind of big, you can make it smaller. You can rotate it, whatever the case may be. And then that's that. And then you'll be able to draw on top of it and show things and annotate like that. And they even give you the delete key says clear the whole page or clear just the ink. So maybe I want to clear just the ink and keep the diagram up there. Maybe yesterday I did an example. I put the heart, the human heart up there. And we were drawing arrows on the valves and what each thing is. So you could then hand it around to each kid, have them draw it and say what they think it is, erase just the ink, and then the next kid does it and so forth, and create a recorded screencast. And that could be something the kids do in a center activity that's not being teacher-led. So the teacher's off doing a different thing while the kids are in a center doing that thing. So let's clear the page on that. So same idea, the record button's in the corner, you record your video, and then you upload it to their hosting service, which is a free hosting service as well. And that's Edu Creations. The next one to show you is Explain Everything. EDU Creations with an S. Yep. This one is what I used a little earlier when you saw that PowerPoint example I made. I used, it's probably still, yeah, it's still there at the end there. This one is very full-featured, and I would say it can be intimidating for the beginning user. But once you get your feet wet and you say, well, I want to be able to export it out as a video, or I want to send it to my Dropbox account or my Evernote account, or save out the slides as PDFs each page. You can do a lot more with importing and exporting with this $3 app. So an example would be for this state one here. This is $3, yep. Which in the world of apps is kind of expensive, but $3 is a retail price. If you're in a school and you're part of the volume purchasing program, which I believe is at least 10 or 20 copies. Anybody know? I think it's 20 or more copies. So if you have a class set or your school has a class set, you get apps for half price. So $1.50 for the app, which is a bigger savings when we're talking like the periodic table, elements table app, which is a $15 app. If teachers, science teachers now can get that for $7.50. And for $7, you'd be amazed at the kind of things you can do with this interactive periodic table of the elements thing and move things around and zoom in and see how tungsten burns, and it's really impressive. So the volume purchasing program is really well for schools. So what I wanted to show you here was this is slide 1 of 3. I have different slides here, so I can navigate backwards and forwards to different things. This one is an example of having a web browser. I can actually have, tap it once, how's that work? I forget how to do that. Edmodo is a different, yes, that's free too. Yep. Edmodo is our platform for storing all of this stuff and accessing all of this stuff. But what I was showing you there is, and I'll go to a brand new slide, so I'll show you. You can pull up not just pictures like I did before, but you could also pull in a web browser inside of here, and then therefore show stuff that's online. So I'll go to a brand new slide, and that would be up here. And I'm going to add, let's see, adding is which one now? This one? And there's all of the images you can add from those locations. So if you are a user of Box, Evernote, Dropbox, storage locations, you can pull stuff in from your other accounts, which I think is really a nice feature. But I'm going to do the web browser one, and you can see it pulls up a web browser. So I could navigate to a site. I'll go to my blog site, So this way you can truly do a screencast on something that's online and show people that. So, and you can have all your annotation tools. So let's try it. Let's say record. Hi, this is Rob Z, and today I'm showing you the robztraining.com website. I want to also show you the laser pointer tool where I can hover my finger over and highlight certain things that are on the screen. I could also use things like arrows, and then with 2 fingers, it's kind of tricky from the angle I'm at, you then got to click off of it. You then can move them around on the screen. And all of your movements that you make bigger, smaller, whatever, they are all being recorded live in real time as well. You have a pencil tool, of course. You have eraser tools. You have text tools. If you touch and hold a tool, you get even more options, like now I can draw squares and things. So you really can annotate on top of things and draw the viewer's attention to stuff like that. So I'll hit stop now and play it. Hi, this is Rob Z, and today I'm showing you the robztraining.com website. I want to also show you the laser pointer tool where I can hover my finger. So all that stuff, all that movement, all was being recorded. So imagine making an animation or showing kids telling a story. You know, write a story that you normally would draw on a piece of paper that's not animated. Now draw a figure here, and then make the little guy walk across the screen. And maybe draw a picture of an ocean and show a boat that you're moving with your fingers across there. All that as they're talking and as they're moving is being recorded, and that goes into their final project. To export it out now, you touch the export button and look at all the options that you have. You can send it directly to the photo roll on the device, or YouTube, or email, Dropbox, Evernote, Box, etc. That's exporting a movie. If I wanted to export as photographs, I can send it to all those places. So you really do have a lot of ins and outs, a lot of import and export methods here when you're creating screencasts with the Explain Everything app. And when you pull in PowerPoint slides, it automatically makes a new page for each slide for you. So you just import it, and it knows what to do with it. So it's a very versatile app. It's daunting at first because there's so many tools and features on it, but you spend a few moments with it and maybe watch a few YouTube tutorials, and you that's what I did, and then you get the hang of all the capabilities that it has. So that's the Explain Everything app. Now for the next one, which is a fun one. This one is made by the TechSmith company again. I'm kind of promoting their products here unofficially. But this is called, yes? Oh. Okay. So it's on sale. So $1.99. That's a very good investment. If you have an iPad, it only works on iPad. It won't work on iPhone or iPod Touch because it needs a very large screen. Most of the screencasting apps do need a large one, with the exception of this one. This one works on both the iPhone, iPod Touch, and iPad. This is called Coach's Eye, and the idea is this is telestration. So you're going to draw and narrate over moving video, and you can pause it, play it in slow motion, reverse motion. And so anytime you have some movement involved, it's a great tool for that. So some examples I have here would be, I made this one of Owen swinging the bat. We made this one in yesterday's class, I think. Let's hit preview and we'll watch this. Hello, this is Mr. Z, and today we're going to show how Owen swung the bat. He kind of swings it a top to bottom fashion instead of across. Now notice right about there, I draw off my line here. And you can draw lines like that and arrows and circles. And what we would like to see, and you have a scrubbing bar. I'll make one so I can show you the creation process. Kind of staying horizontal with the. So I'll show you. We'll make one here. Let's go to my originals. Take that one, and we go to Analyze. So this is perfect for the sports field, but it could be more than just phys ed. I had an example with kids about one of the things about digital citizenship is digital safety, and not just safety of like what websites do I go onto, but safety and health of like how do you sit in a chair for many hours and not develop back and neck problems. So we had the idea of having them sit in a chair, someone record them from the side angle, and then draw the line to see if they have a perfect 90-degree angle from their back and their legs. So it could just be for anything. It could be how to use chopsticks. It could be anything you want to record and be able to talk over and draw things on top of. So notice at the bottom I have this gray, gold rather, bar here. I can fast forward and rewind with my finger on that. So you have very fine-tuned control over what you can do there. So I'll hit record. And we are on. Hi, this is Mr. Z, and I want to show you Owen swinging the bat. Notice how he swings in a diagonal direction, which would be, if we draw a line here, and we'll go with yellow, he's swinging kind of like this, right along that plane. So what we would like to see is more of a horizontal plane, like so, as he's swinging. So he could watch this video, and being that he's only 3 years old, it might not make a lot of sense, but the concept is, there you go, swinging on a more horizontal plane. So until you watch yourself doing that, you kind of have no idea from a first-person standpoint of what that would look like. So I'll hit stop now, which is at the top. And then we hit preview. So at this point, what it's doing is called rendering, and it kind of has to happen. It's combining my spoken audio with the drawings I've made and re-encoding the video, because it wasn't just playing from start to finish. It was going forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards. So it takes a few moments to do that. But in the end, I now have a video that I can share out there on Facebook, Twitter, on a blog, YouTube. It'll give me an MP4 file, so I could do whatever I want with it, pull it into iMovie, whatever you want. That's the nice part about it, is they give you a common file format to then use in further use. They even give you a really cool site. I've already emailed this out and give someone the link. They have this like sports-looking locker room format around the video. When people watch it and they're like, "Whoa, did you make that?" And they say, "No, it's part of the app. It's just you know, something they've done to make it look very snazzy." The name of the app is called Coach's Eye, and it is available on the iPhone too. Because the theory is, coaches on the field are going to have their pocket device with them, and they can record high-quality video too. This is an iPad 2, so this is really not that high-quality video. But the iPad 3 or the newer iPhones have much better cameras in them, so you can get some really good quality footage. Notice how he swings in a diagonal direction, which would be, if we draw a line. And it's not just for these short videos. It could be for a whole hour-long production. You know, you have a scroll wheel, so you can jump forwards and backwards very quickly. So I'll pause it there, and we'll say share. And it looks like I have to sign in to do it. But they give you a place to store your stuff so that you can have it. Will this let me do anything? I'll do it later. Yeah, I guess not. Then you can share out the link, email the link, whatever the case may be, however you need to share it after that. So that is Coach's Eye. I've got a bunch of other video apps, but unfortunately that's a different workshop. But I'd like to, you know, if I had the chance to show you another one, I would show you Videolicious. This one is free. Videolicious is what I use to make my video blogs. You simply talk into the screen, and then you pick a bunch of videos and photos, and it meshes them all together. It makes a newscaster-style video where we see you talking and we hear you talking, but then it shows all of your videos and photos with it, and it adds background music too. So Videolicious, free one. It's a really good video blogging type app. All right, back to the other computer, because I know I'm getting low on time here. And how to view them. Nope, they didn't come back yet. Come on back. There we go. How to view your screencast. Well, as we said already, you can email somebody that link. That's the easiest and quickest thing to do. Place it on a web page or a blog. Here's an example of a web page. My teacher web page, where I don't really use anymore. It just kind of serves as a springboard off to Edmodo. Here's a video I made, a screencast, and I just embedded it in.
With an introductory video on how we use Edmodo. Keep an eye up here on the spotlight and click on these things.
So the parent for the first time or the student for the first time that goes on Mr. Z, their teacher's site, is going to see that. And that shows them that this is what we're going to be doing when you're in my class in a 4-minute or 1-minute kind of overview. So I like screencasts because they're very concise. They get right to the point, and they inform people without having to watch a very long video, without having to read through pages and pages of like a syllabus. Which if you had the syllabus, you could do. You could just talk the syllabus, explain it as you're reviewing it on the screen. So there's a way to integrate that as well. Let's see. Post your stuff on a digital learning platform like Edmodo. And here's that post with Mora's. So here's her screencast she made, and it's put right there. The nice thing about it is when you grab something from Screencast and you put it in Edmodo, Edmodo is smart enough to convert it to a playable video within their interface. Not go off to a separate site and have to navigate tabs back and forth. So Edmodo will smartly, or intelligently I should say, grab the embed code and put it on there for you. Same thing with a YouTube video. Just paste in a YouTube link and it makes it a playable video right inside of Edmodo. And my preferred method now is the Google Doc menu, and I showed you this a little earlier too. Using a Google Doc, here is the menu of steps to watch to complete the project. So this project, by recording your PSA, public service announcement video, here's the 6 steps to do that. And so when you're ready to learn how to do something, you click the play button and you watch a screencast. And this is Mr. Z teaching you, whether it's in Mr. Z's classroom or in a study hall or from home or from a library, from wherever.
All right, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the iPod Touch here to go ahead and take snapshots of whatever's on your screen. And we're going to do that with your...
Okay, so that's the direct instruction now, no longer is a live face-to-face thing. Now I still will do that because there's some occasions where I didn't have time to make the video or I wanted to make a change, and I'll gather everybody around, much like we're doing now, and give them a live demonstration. But for my students, that feels kind of weird to them, that the teacher is up here showing them something all at the same time, because they know that they have ability in here to pause, rewind, and control, but when I'm talking, they don't. So they have to make sure they don't miss anything. So when you're talking highly technical things that you miss one little piece of it and you're lost, they almost prefer to say, well, do you have a screencast? I'd rather see the screencast so that I can rewatch it, or I can control it, or I can make my own little notes while I'm watching you present. So handing the control of learning or ownership of learning to them has been a big paradigm shift, and screencasting has made that possible. So that is the website there. So I am just about done. It's 3 o'clock here. Yeah, I'm good. So any questions, concerns, or comments about screencasting or any of the tools mentioned today? The camera, it's called the ipivo, I-P-E-V-O. The ipivo point to view is the official name for it. And I would bet if you just Google the word ipivo, you'll find it. And that is $69, and then the Ziggy is $89. And in my opinion, worth the extra $20 for the features you get from the higher one. The Ziggy, yep, Z-I-G-G-I. Other questions? All right, I'll let you guys go. It's 3 o'clock. Thank you for coming today.